This is Dean Jackson. Welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast. And today I've got an episode where I'm going to go through the 8 Profit Activator Scorecard. Now, this is kind of a good point in this podcast series for you to assess kind of where you are in your business with applying the 8 Profit Activators. And so I've got a scorecard together for you where you can go and find yourself on a matrix that lays out some mindsets around the 8 Profit Activators. And I put that at morecheeselesswhiskers.com. And you can find a link to the scorecard right in this episode notes. This is episode 11. So if you're listening to this in the future, you can look for episode 11 and there'll be a link right to the scorecard where you can go through, find your score as far as the 8 Profit Activators go, and download a copy of the Profit Activator Scorecard and the Breakthrough DNA book, where we really explain how to apply the 8 Profit Activators to your business. I've been using this scorecard now at the Breakthrough Blueprint events that I do. And immediately what I find is that when people do create their score, they end up knowing, having a sense of peace, kind of knowing where they lie in all of the things that we talk about and where the biggest opportunities are. So I think you'll find it eye-opening. And you've been listening to a lot of these episodes where that's exactly what we're applying, are these 8 Profit Activators. So I would encourage you to do that and enjoy this episode. If you go through the scorecard, you can download the scorecard and follow along with this episode. It'll help kind of amplify what the questions are and how you can assess where you stand with each of the 8 Profit Activators right now. So enjoy this episode, and I will see you on the other side.
Welcome. This is Susan Austin, and I'm super excited today to be talking with Dean Jackson about his Profit Activator Scorecard. Welcome, Dean.
Hey, welcome. I'm excited. This is, this whole process is really going to give people an opportunity to kind of assess where they are with this breakthrough DNA process. So the scorecard is a companion to the Breakthrough DNA book, where we talk about the 8 Profit Activators you can trigger in your business right now. And each of the 8 Profit Activators is one of the mindsets that we're going to kind of measure and see where the opportunity is in your business, and to see where there's some room for improvement. And everybody is going to find themselves somewhere on the scorecard. The great thing about the Breakthrough DNA process is that it's universally applicable. It's always present. That's why I named it Breakthrough DNA, because I look at each of these 8 Profit Activators as a little DNA cell that manifests differently in every different type of business, but it's universally present. So as we go through this, we're going to keep in mind that each of these Profit Activators is present in your business. And I just want to kind of go through and describe a progression of where people might be as it relates to each one of those Profit Activators. So let's start with the mindsets. And the first mindset is to select a single target market. And I say at a time, because that's really the thing that I have the hardest time getting people to do, is to narrow their focus to a single target market. There's always this fear that they're going to be missing out somehow. But let's take a look at how that might manifest here in somebody's business. So if we look at the first column here under the single target market mindset, the first progression is that you target everyone and anyone, taking what you can get and casting the widest possible net. Now, a lot of people might recognize themselves there because, especially early on in a business where they're not sure where the traction is going to be, or they're not sure where to kind of narrow their focus. So they try and say, well, we can help anybody. We can help anybody with anything. And so they try and leave their options open to be able to kind of help everybody. And that can show up in geographically. If you're in an area that you're in a business that is locally delivered, people want to expand and think that if I am in a bigger territory that I would get more business. I just need to get a smaller piece of that bigger pie. And so limiting yourself to a single target market seems counterintuitive. But as you go up, then sometimes in the second column here, people take their cue by what's going on in the market right now. So somebody in column 2, you focus your marketing efforts on whatever is the hot or trending market right now. And that seems like, on the surface, a thing to do. Everybody with this focus really feels like they're doing what seems like common wisdom. Well, this is hot right now. Let's focus on this. And you might see it in in real estate or in financial advising. People might be focused on a specific part of the market that seems to be trending, or in marketing, people might be focused on, well, Facebook is really hot right now, or Pinterest is really hot right now. So, focusing your marketing efforts on whatever is the hot or trending market feels like you're kind of staying on top of things, but it's only going to get you so far. And as you progress here into the third column, you continually strive to get more revenues from the same market that you've always served, improving the same methods. Now, that feels like, okay, for somebody who's in a mature business and looking to continually improve on their results, to focus their attention on garnering more market share, or doing more of the same kind of service that they've been doing and continuing to grow along with the market. That seems like it's a winning formula, and in most cases, the businesses that are winning seem to feel like they have their place in the market. They can identify basically who they serve, and they are focused on just reaching more of those people as they go forward. Then in the fourth column, you dominate a specific target market focused on largest check clientele. Now, Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach introduced this concept to me of bringing your focus on the clients who are the biggest opportunity for you. When you look at all of the people that you serve, you look at who is on your roster of the clients that you were able to help in the last 12 months, and some of them are going to be much more valuable than others. Those would be the ones that he calls your largest check, the ones who pay you the most money, who you have the biggest impact on. That's a great place to start your focus on. That's kind of the ability to narrow your focus to setting up your business to serve and pursue more of your largest check clients. So that's one of the ways that you can aim to improve your score on Profit Activator number one, mindset number one, your single target market, is, be aware of what the total yield could be of your largest check clients. When you look at who the market is that you're trying to serve, there's only, if there's a constraint on you, there's only so much either time or capacity or energy or ability that you have to serve the market that you're trying to serve. And when you really kind of look at where the biggest opportunity is, what would your business look like if you were to set it up to focus on and pursue your largest check clients? I did some work with a mortgage company that was a perfect example of this. Before we started focusing on it, they were in a suburb of D.C. in Virginia, and they were in sort of, a suburban market, wearing khakis and polo shirts in some, inexpensive office space, and just kind of focused on serving the middle of the market there. And when we did that exercise of focusing on the largest check, they realized that, wow, there were some of these loans that they did that were much higher loan amounts, that were much easier people to deal with, and were much more profitable. So the entire focus of the company, of the branch, changed to focus on pursuing those largest check clients, which were mostly high-income professionals. So that changed everything about the way that they went about operating the business. By narrowing that focus, they switched from being in khakis and polos in a office park to being in Armani suits in A-class office space in the same building as a lot of these high-end clients that they had. And the transition was immediate. It was and dramatic, because focusing on and building the entire operation around serving those largest check clients really created a big opportunity for them. And their revenue went up, their profits went up, and everything about the business became simple because of that narrow focus on a single target market. And now I say focus on a single target market at a time, because that doesn't mean that you continually and only have to focus on that target market. I always use companies like Procter & Gamble as an example of a company that successfully serves multiple target markets, but they serve them one at a time, and they plan to dominate each of the markets that they go into. So there's the great things that you can do to focus your attention on improving your score in your single target market mindset.
Dean, before you go on to the mindset number 2, talk to us real briefly, because there's 3 numbers under each column. How does someone know whether they're a 1, 2, or a 3 under that? If do you have any kind of just words of wisdom here to kind of how to grade themselves?
Yeah, that's great, because I think that when you look at each of the columns, you'll see which one sort of resonates with you. And, the 1, 2, and 3, or, there's 3 options for each of the columns. And I think that, the 1 would indicate this is the weakest one that we have. But the 3 might mean, I am in that column, but I'm almost in the next column. and I, see where I can easily kind of make that jump to the next column. So it's just an assessment of, is this really, is this a weakness, or am I solidly entrenched in this column, or am I, almost on the verge of going to the next column? And especially in column 4, where you get into 10, 11, 12. I mean, the difference, if you're a 12, that means that you're completely, focused on that. And if you're a 10, that means, okay, I'm just into this column here, but there's still room for improvement. So it's kind of just gives you a qualitative kind of flavor.
Perfect. And then how often do you suggest that they grade themselves?
Well, I think that, what we've been doing is kind of grading quarterly. And I think that makes you can make improvements in the quarter. You can kind of assess, look at where you stand, and set your objectives for what to focus on for the next quarter.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Anything else on single target?
No, I think let's go on to mindset number 2, which is compelling your best prospects. Now, when we talk about this profit activator, we talk about using direct response offers to compel your prospects to call you. And so if we look at column 1, you have no predictable way to generate new leads, relying on manual prospecting, personal promotion, and no response ads. And so people in this column, and you start to see a pattern here, but people in that column are very, they're struggling. They're failing in this column. This is a weakness that you could really identify. We see a lot of times people have businesses, they have an ability to deliver, to get results for people, but they don't have a predictable way to generate new business. And that makes it's a very precarious kind of position. So it's frustrating. You look at it that it's, without a predictable way to get new clients, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever happens. And so you start to see that all of these mindsets build on each other, because if your target market is very broad and not very focused, and that's going to make your advertising and marketing efforts very unfocused, because you're trying to serve everybody there. So you'll recognize it if you can't say with certainty that you've got a way to identify the people who could be your best prospects and compel them to raise their hand so you can start a conversation. That's really where you would be in column 1 here for mindset number 2. Then in column 2, you focus on branding and building top of mind awareness in your marketplace. Now that seems like, common wisdom. That seems like what most businesses would strive to. And so people take that as a cue that they need to get their name out there, that they need to focus on getting their brand out there, so that when people think about that category, whatever business they're in, that they think about your business. And so that can be frustrating because it's very expensive often to get that out there. One of the distinctions that I make for this, for Profit Activator 2, mindset number 2, is that the difference between getting rich or getting famous. And so when we focus on branding and building top of mind awareness, is about those are all things about getting famous, thinking that that's going to lead to more people calling you, where direct response is really about focusing on getting rich. And that is just skillfully learning what are the messages that compel people to raise their hand and identify themselves for you here. So that's what we're really talking about in column 2, is that if the ads that you're doing or the marketing that you're doing is just focused on branding and it doesn't have a crystal clear focus that gets people to respond, then there's room for improvement there. In column 3, you generally always have enough new prospects every year to increase your results. And a lot of people fit into this category because some businesses are legacy businesses. You know, they've been in business for a long time. They've got a great reputation. They've got great clients. And whatever happens, they always seem to have enough business to increase their results, but they're not completely in control of that. It's not through their efforts that they're able to predictably grow their business. Not like having your hands at the volume knob of your business. That's what Profit Activator 2 can do for you, this mindset of compelling your prospects to call you. And in column 4, you're always able to generate prospects predictably, on demand, for a known cost, as many as you want, like a vending machine. That's really where we want to aspire with this mindset. We want to get to a point where you know how much it costs to identify your ideal prospect, to get them to raise their hand, and you can do it at any time and do it in a way that is predictable, like a vending machine. So, you know, and the perfect examples of that would be using, if you know that there is a certain postcard that you can mail, that you can select the target audience. I do a lot of work with real estate agents, and one of the things that we have is a program called Getting Listings. And so we have a postcard that we can mail to a very specific target audience. We could choose lakefront homes or condos or any neighborhood. And we know that when we mail that postcard, that people will raise their hand. Very different than what an approach of branding would do. A lot of times people will mail postcards, run ads, do campaigns that are just designed to get their name out there. And the difference, what we're looking for, is how to get your prospect's name in here. Every time you're spending money on advertising or marketing, postcards, print ads, online, Facebook, all of those things, you should aspire to having it be like a vending machine where you say, I'd like to get 10 new listings in the lakefront homes in Winter Haven in the next 12 months. And you should be able to push that button like it's on a vending machine and say, give me 10 of those, and know how much it costs you to identify and start a relationship with your ideal prospects. That's where your business gets fun. So how can we focus on improving your score in mindset number 2? Well, the first thing we want to do is focus on turning invisible prospects into visible prospects. See, when we look at a list of homeowners in an area, for instance, or whatever would be the thing that makes somebody your ideal prospect, we want to then say, how can we get the person who would be our ideal prospect to raise their hand, just to identify themselves? So the way that you focus on that might be to think about the book that your ideal target audience would definitely want. I think books are the hands down very best lead generator to start the conversation. And so we've used so many different types of these in all the people that we've been able to work with our 90-minute book process, and I use books in so many different ways. The Breakthrough DNA book is a perfect example of that. We can get somebody to start the conversation by asking for a book that indicates what their desire is and focusing on just starting the conversation. Once somebody has raised their hand for your book or responded to your ad in some way, they have identified themselves as a visible prospect now. And your Profit Activator 2 has done its job. So now we're on to Profit Activator 3, which is to educate and motivate. Now, when we look at the ways that people get in trouble, and by trouble I mean, if you have a lower score on one of these profit activators, it's usually pretty easy to identify what's going on. And so in column 1 for mindset number 3, if your prospects are not ready to buy now, they fall through the cracks, and you have no systematic, regular follow-up communication. So, everybody can relate to that, where if they go to a trade show or they go to do a networking event or they go anywhere or run ads that they're generating leads, and if people are not ready to buy right now, most people don't have a systematic way to keep in touch with people. And so they're conditioned to always be looking for the people who are ready to do business right now. And very few of the people who could be prospects for your business down the road at some point, and that time is certainly going to come, but if they're not ready to buy right now, they're losing out, because they don't have a way to orchestrate that and nurture that relationship until people are ready to do and to take action and to get the result that they're looking for. In column 2, you believe that just staying in contact over time will produce the sale whenever they are ready. So a lot of times people take the approach that they're going to just stay in touch with people. Maybe they'll send them their quarterly newsletter, or they'll, send some level of communication just to kind of passively keep in touch with people, or maybe they will think that whenever the time is right, people will contact us. And so they don't have an orchestrated way to educate and motivate people and understand the thought process that has to be addressed as people are kind of assessing their buying criteria, what's going to make the decision for them. And so they just think that, well, if we just keep in touch with people and continue to send them educational things, that we'll be there whenever they're ready. In column 3, it usually takes you an unpredictable amount of time and effort with no systematic approach to transform prospects into customers. Now, a lot of times people, they really don't have a metric to measure and know how long do people tend to gestate before they become clients? How long does that cycle? How long does that process take? And they don't really start to measure that and pay attention to it, because when you know those things, when you know how long it usually takes for prospects to do anything, that you end up being able to predict, like an annuity, the value of the prospects that you're generating. That's all part of your, an asset that you have, are all the unconverted leads that you've generated. And if you're winning or transforming in this mindset, in column 4, you have a systematic way to engage with new prospects and find 5-star candidates and patiently engage them over time. So it's about identifying who your ideal prospects are and knowing that you've got a way to be there when they're ready. I used the real estate example of running sending postcards, and then when people raise their hand to ask for the report on Winter Haven lakefront house prices, that knowing that there's going to be a period of time, not everybody's going to be ready to list their house right away, but there's going to be a period of time where they're going to be kind of educating themselves and getting motivated to actually sell the house. And that could be weeks or months, or in some cases years. But being able to have an orchestrated way to do that, we send people a monthly Get Top Dollar newsletter with educational things about preparing your house for sale, along with all the new updates that have come on the market. And so you start to contextually really add value to people as you're educating and motivating them. So if you're looking to improve your score in mindset number 3, then I would look to really understand your prospects, the people, all the leads that you're generating, and ask yourself, what do they need to know to be convinced? So a lot of times the thing that slows people from taking action is they're kind of doing all their due diligence. They're doing their research. They're trying to figure out what to do, what the move is for them. And so by thinking through all the things that you know that your prospects need to know in order to be ready to do business with you, you can, over a period of time, just consistently educate them about that. And you can consistently provide new information that's going to motivate them. And it would be very interesting for you to know, how long is the gestation period for your prospects? How long do people typically take between the time that they raise their hand and the time that they actually do something? So, we've done studies where we've tracked and monitored people for years, and the value of the leads that you're generating today is a multiple when you extend out your ability to communicate with people and be there, with an offer that's going to get them to take that first step. Now, the thing that you need to decide if you're going to take this on and orchestrate it is what's going to be your method of communicating. I look at how can you have a flagship communication that you're going to constantly be in communication with your clients. It could be a newsletter. It could be a podcast. It could be a video show. It could be a weekly or a monthly or some regular interval email that you send to people, but you want to focus on what is your flagship communication. That is going to be the key to being in front of people when they're ready to take that first step. Now, mindset number 4 is making irresistible first offers. And this is where people fall into one of two camps. And I talk about this in the Breakthrough DNA book, that I want you to think about that as a companion to this scorecard. The Breakthrough DNA book, we kind of amplify these principles here. But when we look at the two mindsets that people have, is they're either waiting for the prospect to take action, which is sort of a passive approach, or they often err on the side of being too aggressive, and they start to try and force people to take action now. And so let's go through the columns and see where you stack up. So in column 1, you wait for prospects to take the initiative, and you're able to take orders when people are ready to buy. A lot of times you'll see that, your staff or people on the front line, they kind of wait for people to come to them, and that they are able to cheerfully take orders when people are ready to buy, but they're not really trying to encourage people or make it irresistible for people to get started. Now, in column 2, you consistently check in with prospects to see if there's anything you can do to help. So it's a very passive approach. And I talk about this in the Breakthrough DNA book as if I were to invite you into my living room and sit you down and say, hey, I'm really glad you're here, Susan. If there's anything that you want, there's lots of stuff in the fridge. Go ahead and help yourself. But you contrast that with if I sat you down and I went into the kitchen and I came out with a plate of freshly baked cookies and said, would you like a cookie? It would be very difficult for you not to take the cookie. And that's the way your prospects are. It's the same thing. They're focused on, we want to understand what is it that your prospects really, that they really want. How can we be there when they're ready to take action, understanding what's going to be irresistible to them. So in column 3, you focus on training the sales team to overcome objections and to close prospects right now. Now, a lot of times this is kind of like winning behavior, that people feel like, they're going to train their staff. They have a sales-oriented culture where if they generate leads, they've got trained salespeople that are standing by, that are ready to overcome objections and get people to take action right now. That's very successful companies fall into that category. They've got lots of ways to get people to take action right away, and they make lots of sales. But in a way, it ends up costing them in the long term of their business by maybe doing too much or being too aggressive on the front end and alienating people who maybe 6 months from now or a year from now might be ready to go. So it's a delicate balance of really being there when people are ready to take action now, but also it being okay if they are not ready to take action now. Then in column 4, you continually make specific offers to prospects as they become ready, taking a leadership role in all next steps. And that's really, if we can skillfully get to a point where you're making offers that are exactly what your prospect needs at just the right time, understanding what motivates them, that's really where the opportunity is, because they will feel like they are being led in a direction that they want to go. And, I say there's an old saying that people are silently begging to be led, and that's true. And I find it also true for salespeople or entrepreneurs or business owners, that, it's this approach that we're, a staff may be waiting for prospects to lead them, for them to take the initiative so that they can spring into action and help people get the help that they need. But leadership is really about taking initiative, right? So in the cookie example, if I said, is there anything that I can help you with? Susan, you'd feel like it would be uncomfortable for you to, direct me to get something for you, right? You would never in a million years say, you know what, would you bake me some cookies? I mean, that's just, it doesn't fit, right? And we go to great lengths to not have people go out of their way for us, right? Because if even in little things, the way we act in little things is amplified in the way we act in big things. So if it's a more likely interaction socially with people saying, would you like a coffee? Are you having one? Because if you're having one, I'll have one. But nobody wants people to go out of their way and, take the initiative that way,
Right.
So when we look at it as that, taking a leadership role, it's knowing in advance, I may know about you that you happen to like chocolate chip cookies. And so if I bake some chocolate chip cookies ahead of time and I've got them right there on the plate, you're going to be appreciative and you want those cookies, and it's just the right thing. Now, knowing that that's just the first step, because if you take the cookie, then there's a really good chance that if I come back in a few minutes with the milk, that you're going to be equally ready to do that. So, when we look at it is, what are the things that are going to be those cookies, those first steps that are going to trigger the things that your clients are going to do to move into getting the result that you want. And so the best thing that you can do to improve your score here is to really understand what is it that's going to motivate, what's going to be the thing that would be irresistible for your clients to take that first step. And it doesn't have to be just one thing of do business with us. It's not, if I use our real estate example of the sending out the lakefront postcards, getting people to raise their hand, then I know that there's going to be one of three things that trigger them to take that next step. They're either going to want to know specifically how much their house is worth, so we have our pinpoint price analysis. They're going to maybe want to know what to do to prepare their house for sale, to get it ready to sell. So we've got our room-by-room review to show them exactly what to do to get the house ready to sell. Or some people may just, if you had a buyer, they would sell, but they're not that motivated to just kind of take that action. So we have our silent market. And those are the three offers that have come from a lot of time and work on thinking through what are going to be the things that would get somebody to take that first step. And so being positioned in a way that you can make those offers to people, and it'll just feel completely natural. Somebody who asks for a pinpoint price analysis, we're not saying, hey, list your house with me. We're saying, find out how much your house is worth. That's a free service that we offer. Now, while you're in the house talking with them, you're going to just naturally progress to you being the one that helps them sell their house. So looking through your particular business, your offers, and seeing what are the things that are the natural next steps for people.
I love this one, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
I love this because so many people just sit back waiting for the client to call them and just think, well, my marketing's not working, but they don't take the time to sort of get into the mindset of what their client wants. I love this irresistible offer because I think it's a real game changer.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's part of the that you see how all of these build on top of one another. And so these 8 mindsets, these 8 profit activators, all are designed around our model of the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit. All the things that we do before the sale. If you imagine it as a separate unit of your business, these first 4 mindsets are all the things that have to be addressed before somebody decides to do business with you, before they say yes. Now, the next 2 mindsets are the during unit, which is the period of time when you are actually delivering the result for people. So mindset number 5 is getting the dream result. Now, where people, if they're failing in this category or if they're struggling, they might find themselves in column 1. You're unable to predictably get a consistent result for clients and then blame the clients for not following the plan. And so there's often, it may not be that your plan or your practice for getting the result for people or the practical steps involved in it actually fail, but it may be that they're too difficult for people or they're too confusing. If you really look at your results that your clients are getting, we're kind of looking to see how many people are actually able to get the result that we wanted. And I always look to amplify the result by focusing on what would be a dream come true result for your client. And let's focus on delivering that level of a result. So if you look at it that you're unable to predictably get a consistent result for clients, it could be that there's a systemic breakdown, that there's something in the system in the way that you're able to do it, or that the staff are not trained to deliver that result. And so you want to kind of really take a hard look at it and see how are we doing in actually delivering the result for people. In column 2, you're usually able to get the result for your clients, but the process and experience may be a little inconsistent. So that's a business where, typically, people are able to get the result, but it may be erratic. They may not be a great communication. The process might break down. If you ever watch The Profit on CNBC with Marcus Lemonis, you see where he goes into businesses, and one of the things that he looks at 3 ways to think about a business. There's the product, the people, and the process. And so where is the breakdown that is causing people to not get the predictable result? And that's, building a plan to improve that. In column 3, you are confident that most of your clients will have a satisfying experience with your product or service. And that's where most people are. They're, a lot of times people who have successful businesses, they're confident that most of the time we're able to get the result for people. And if there's ever a problem, it's in the way that you handle it and that people are dealt with in a professional way, that they, that makes that that they get the result, but the experience may not be as memorable. It may not be as good as it could be for people. And so in column 4, you have a unique process and a unique teamwork that gets a dream come true result for your clients every time. Now, this is really where all pistons are firing at the optimal levels, right? Where you've got a unique process and a unique teamwork that gets a dream come true result. What we're looking for is, how do we get people to really have even a better result than they would imagine? This is where businesses really can thrive, is if you're looking to improve your score in this category. Where I would start is to really know and understand the result that would be a dream come true for your client. What would be even a better result than they could imagine getting as a result of doing business with you? And a lot of times people constrain themselves in their business by doing by offering a limited way that people can get something. I see it where in information marketing, people think, well, we sell a $349 online course, or we sell a $49 ebook, or some way that they're focused on the mechanism more than the result. And so if you really think about what would be the dream come true result for people, regardless of how we deliver it right now, or what our current pricing model or packaging model is, let's focus on what would be the very best result that you could deliver for people if they would let you do it. Then figure out how much does it cost to deliver that result, how predictable can we be in delivering that result, and then set your pricing based on what it actually takes to consistently get that result. Now, in Profit Activator 5, mindset number 5 here, one of the things that drives this is asking yourself a question. And I call this a clarifying question of, what would I do if I only got paid when my client gets the result? Now, if you're holding yourself to a standard, and again, this can be a silently asked question, but what would I do if I only got paid when my client gets the result? That filter is going to highlight the critical things in the path of getting the result. If you only got paid when they get the result, there might be just a very few critical things that need to get done. And so much of the things that we bundle in with the service to make it feel like it has more value, or to make it feel like it is a bigger bundle of services or a bigger product than it is. If you really just focus on the result without having to filter it through how you're currently doing it, it's going to change the way that you look at things. If you really did get to a point where you're constantly looking for ways to drive predictable results for people and remove the friction in doing that, that's going to give you the confidence to make a stronger offer, which is going to have a trickle-down effect in all of these profit activators, in all of these mindsets, right? If you know that you can definitely get a result for somebody, and you know that that result is some multiple of the amount of money that they are paying for it, that gives you the confidence to truly make, in mindset number 4, irresistible offers. So, and then you've got all of the ability to focus your attention on the target market that would be best suited for and most desirous of that result that you're able to get. So getting the result, being clear on what your core objective is, that's the thing that's going to drive your score in mindset number 5. Now, in mindset number 6, we're moving into after-sale service. And this is the part of the during unit where it goes beyond the part of the service or the transaction that people would perceive that they are paying for. And we're going into a situation now where you've got an opportunity to surprise and delight people. But it all depends on what your mindset is about this particular category. So let's go through the columns. In column 1, once the transaction is made, you're on to the next prospect with no additional service offered, so no testimonials or no referrals. And some people, some businesses are oriented around just getting that one transaction, especially when you're getting started or especially when you don't feel or have confidence that you're going to be in this business for the long term, especially in a situation where it's not something that there's going to be a lot of repeat business on, or that the repeat business is going to happen years down the road. So I think about in real estate again, a lot of times the realtors initially make the mistake of they do everything they can. They help people find the house. They go to the closing. They get the check. And then they're done, and they're out looking for the next person without even continuing that relationship. Now, what they don't realize is that there's, in addition to the core objective of getting somebody's house sold or getting them the result that you've been hired to get them or they've decided to work with you on getting, there's the strategic objectives. And so the strategic objectives are how can we maximize the results that people are getting and maximize the opportunity that we have to serve them. So in column 2, you try to maximize transaction value with upsell offers or incentives on future orders placed now. Sometimes, people have that approach. They realize that and take the approach that they've really got only one opportunity there for working with people, and they try and maximize it all into that one transactional period. And in column 3, you feel that each customer's value is mostly in the first transaction. And then you immediately move on to your next customer. So when we focus there, that's really going to determine how much effort you put into continuing the relationship, is how much you feel like you can continue to add value for people. And then in column 4, each client experience leads to the next client and sets the stage for a lifetime relationship. See, I look at these things as how can we, while we're in that during unit, which is really the period of time that you're going to be in closest relationship with them, you're going to be in constant communication, you're going to be working with them, collaborating with them, celebrating when they get the result. It just feels so anticlimactic if they get this result. You've had a great experience with them, and then it just drops off cold turkey. There's that sense that this really was only a relationship that I'm in because I was getting paid for it. Now, in every business, in every transaction, there's a part of the business that is the transactional part, and everybody would recognize that this is kind of a dividing line. If somebody leaves the closing table from a real estate transaction and you've gotten paid your commission check, that the transaction is over, and now hopefully you'll stay in touch and do business with me again. But if we look at it that now that the person who just bought that house or just bought that car or did that financial plan or did whatever your business is, if you know that the next 30, 60, 90 days after somebody buys a house is the time that they're going to be most excited about it, they're going to be introducing the new house or the new car or talking about whatever they did with their closest friends, with their inner circle. There's so many opportunities for people to introduce you to your next client. And every little thing that you do after it's perceived that you have been paid for it are really perceived in a different way. It's perceived as a relationship way. If you just bought a house and we left the closing and then I pop in to see you next weekend, or I call you, or I bring by a handyman to help you, or I bring a gift basket, or I do all these things that could be that could happen after the transaction, that's perceived. It's a surprise and a delight, and it's perceived that I'm doing this because I want a relationship. Excuse me. So we want to focus on where are the opportunities to do that? Where is that dividing line in your business? Where is the division between the transactional part and the continuation of the level of service that we can offer to people? Another thing you might do to improve this mindset is to identify and know what are the strategic objectives that you have here. Can you, through communicating, through visits, through continuing the relationship with people, identify and set up the next step? That it may be that now they're ready to take the next step with you, or that there are additional offers that you can do to work with people, or to understand that now is a great time to get referrals from your clients who at their happiest, when they're most talking about it, and testimonials. And so if you set up, I look at this Profit Activator Scorecard as kind of a qualitative approach to this. But when you're really looking at improving your score, the next step for really progressing with this is to now take a quantitative approach to it and see what are the metrics here. What are the metrics that are going to show our improvement in our during unit? And so there's, a constant and never-ending improvement cycle that we're working on by measuring both our qualitative assessment of where we are on this scorecard, and then getting really serious about putting some quantitative measures to it too, and measuring those each quarter as we track our progress. Let me just get a little water here, Susan.
All right.
Okay, now let's move into the after unit. There's two profit activators in the after unit and two mindsets. So mindset number 7 is about nurturing lifetime relationships. And you'll see where you fit on this just by looking at the language that we use in each of the columns here. So our after unit, just to set the stage, is the part of our business that is really about nurturing lifetime relationships with our clients and orchestrating referrals. So when we look at it, we want to see how valuable is the after unit if it was a standalone unit of our business. If we just shut the doors and stopped taking new clients, what would be the value or the impact of our after unit? So in mindset number 7, the first column is you have no database or CRM or communication with your clients, and you just hope that they return. I have a lot of businesses that fall into that category. I have a lot of people that I know that own restaurants that would fall into that category, or retail stores that fall into that category, that kind of keep the doors open. People come in, they get lunch or get a cafe, or they buy something, and then they leave, and you don't have any idea who they are, no way of communicating with them, and you just kind of hope that they come back. Hey, y'all come back now. I mean, just hoping that they had a great experience and that they'll tell their friends. So if that's the category you're in right now, then you want to kind of look and say, wow, I really want to understand, what am I missing out on here? So in column 2, you generally measure your personal and business success only in terms of transactions, revenues, and profits. You're not looking in terms of the asset value that you're creating. You're just looking at, we did this many transactions. It's all on a month-to-month basis, or a week or day, or whatever it is. Just kind of measuring that way the success of things, not focused on the present, not on the future, and not maximizing the value of everything that you've done in the past. And as we progress up here in column 3, this is kind of traditionally successful. You're generally aware of and measure the lifetime value of a client, but you do it historically. Sometimes businesses know that how many clients they've had, how much business they've done with them, and they track it by looking in the rear view mirror and knowing the metrics that kind of guide what's happening there, but not really taking a forward-looking view and looking at it as the asset that's predictably going to generate an amount of revenue each year. Then in column 4, you continually measure and increase return on relationship of your entire client portfolio, which is your most valued asset. If you're winning in this column here, you realize that the after unit, it's the equity of your business. It's the reward for all of the years and the effort that you put in, the relationships that you've built. And I put return on relationship in quotes because that's a physical metric that we look at. When you look at your after unit, and again, this is happening whether you are aware of it and consciously directing your efforts to improve it, or whether it's just happening. It's there. We're going to overlay this on your existing business. And if you take the number of people that you've served, the number of people that would fit in that after unit category for you, and you look at the total amount of revenue that came from that group of people, if you're a dentist or a chiropractor or in a professional practice, an accountancy, a real estate agent, of all of the business that you did in the last 12 months, how much of that business came from your existing clients? We call that your return on relationship. And that's just one piece of your after unit here, because we also talk about orchestrating referrals in your after unit. But to get that lifetime relationship mindset right, we want to kind of start with knowing where you are right now And so that is about measuring the impact of your after unit on your business. And the metric that we use is return on relationship. So it's kind of easy to calculate if you've got all of that. Most people don't separate the tracking sources of where their business came from on that way. But if you look at it, this is an incredible way to focus on improving that number by first having an awareness of it. Then another thing that we can do to improve your score here is to focus on being an advocate for the category you're part of. Now, I say that, and when I look at it, that so often the actual business that we're in is just one part of the broader category that you live in. So if a real estate agent, they're involved in the transaction of buying and selling a home, but they're in the category of home ownership. I mean, that they've gotten people into this situation where they are home owners. And if you kind of look at your role as an advocate for home ownership and treat yourself as the advocate for them, you can now be aware of and introduce all the other things that are kind of part of that category. You can create a network of people that provide other services that are in that category. You can be the and I use that word advocate as a intentional word, that you're really advocating and taking a care of the people, in the category that you helped them get into. So, if you think about there's all the number of things that are going to happen under that broader category of home ownership. There are any number of home improvements that people are going to do, any number of home maintenance things that are going to need to be done. And if you look at your role as being the advocate who can introduce them to these service providers, the first person that they think of when it comes to anything to do with their home, that is the real lifetime relationship value there, that you're building that relationship over time. And so you can also align with other people who are in that category that have the same mindset, and together work to treat each other's clients as advocates. And that's going to improve the number of referrals you get from other businesses within the same category. And by taking that relationship that they have with their clients to be able to be directed towards you when their clients have that need, and vice versa. It's always a good idea to kind of position yourself as the leader of a category, especially among the other complementary businesses, because all those other businesses don't think to take a step back and identify the category and organize the category. Everybody's so focused on their own little cog in that grander wheel, and not really focused on taking a leadership role there and building relationships, or focusing on being a market maker. Now, in mindset number 8 in the after unit there, we're talking specifically about orchestrating referrals. Mindset number 7 was about nurturing relationships and getting repeat business and, that sort of thing. But orchestrating referrals is a specific category here. So if we look at how this is happening, if we look in column 1, you get sporadic, unpredictable referrals. There's no effort to orchestrate, recognize, or encourage the flow of referrals. It's just happening. if that's what's happening in your business right now, then you would fall into column number 1 with either a 1, 2, or a 3. Now, if we move into column number 2, at least, this is where you have kind of the best intentions. You stay in touch with your existing clients in conventional ways without consciously and strategically measuring the results. So a lot of times, real estate agents, they may send a calendar to people or a fridge magnet to put on their fridge for the year, and just staying in touch with people, but not really with any sort of strategic element to it, not realizing that the opportunity is to develop a relationship with people. Then in column 3, you focus on increasing referrals by constantly asking for and incentivizing referrals. So a lot of times people in this column, they understand referrals and they think that they need to incentivize people to give them referrals. So they focus on having orchestrated referral reward programs and doing it in a way that is going to treating it almost like they're doing you a favor. Now, in column 4, where you're transforming in this mindset, is that you proactively orchestrate your referral systems to create and measure referrals every month like clockwork. You realize that referrals are a wonderful thing, that there is an opportunity that you have, and you measure what's actually happening. Now, most of the time when we measure, if you were to look at the referrals that you got, the first thing that I would do is put them into categories of passive referrals, where people just called you up and said, hey, I was working with, or I'm a friend of Susan, can you help me sell my house? Or reactive referrals, where you, Susan, might call and say, hey, my friend John is thinking of selling his house, you should give him a call. And measuring the orchestrated referrals, where you consciously worked to identify a specific person or a specific category of person that you are looking for, and orchestrated situations for your clients to introduce you to the people that they know that are like that. So in order to orchestrate those referrals, one of the things you can do is kind of study and understand the psychology of why people refer and the mechanics of how referrals actually happen. Now, on the psychology side, being able to overcome this idea that people refer as a favor, that's really a limiting thing, where it's kind of putting yourself in a position of weakness there. But when you understand that people refer because it makes them feel good, that's a much more empowering type of thing. And when we realize the mechanics of referrals are that all referrals happen as a result of conversation, that really gives you an opportunity to think through what are the high probability conversations that people might be in. So if we use the real estate as an example again, it's highly likely that over the next 12 months, everybody in your after unit, everybody that you know, is going to hear somebody talking about selling their house, or somebody talking about getting transferred, or buying their first house, or buying an investment property, or buying a vacation property. There's all kinds of these conversations that your clients are going to be in. And then build your communications around orchestrating referrals in those categories. And we use a wonderful tool called the World's Most Interesting Postcard. And on one side is just very interesting facts and information. On the other side is where we orchestrate referrals by using a simple formula. just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about blank. If you hear someone talking about that, give me a call or text me, and I'll give you this to give to them. So, in the real estate example, we might say, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about selling their house. If you hear someone, give me a call or text me, and I'll get you a copy of my How to Sell Your House for Top Dollar Fast book to give them. And that little orchestration, and we add more words to it, but that's the essence of it, is going to plant the seed in people's minds that they're going to notice certain conversations. They're going to notice when somebody's talking about it, because in order for a referral to take place, people have to notice that the conversation is about real estate or money or whatever your category is. They have to think about you, and they have to introduce you into the conversation. So all three of those things firing at once is really what the whole purpose of your Profit Activator number 8. That's what this whole mindset is how can we skillfully orchestrate more referrals, and how can we do it in a way that measurably makes a difference. So that is the Profit Activator Scorecard. Now, if you want to continue to move forward on this, you want to think about what can you do next. And I mentioned the Breakthrough DNA book that is a companion to this that you can download for free at breakthroughdna.com. And there's a video there that kind of introduces these 8 profit activators, introduces this mindset for you, and that's all available for you there. You can listen to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast at morecheeselesswhiskers.com. And there's an ebook there that's all about orchestrating ways to make irresistible offers so that people are able to do more business with you. And then the I Love Marketing podcast at ilovemarketing.com. We've got over 250 episodes of our very best thinking around applying these 8 profit activators to your business, and I do that with Joe Polish. So those are 3 resources that you have right now to kind of take the next step, and I really look forward to helping you raise your score on your Profit Activator Scorecard. And Susan, thank you so much. You've been very helpful for keeping me on track here. I didn't let you get a word in edgewise.
Thank you, Dean. This is very helpful. I think this is to be able to see sort of the whole process at one glance and then be able to rate yourself. And I think people naturally will want to increase their score. No one likes a low score, so they're going to want to, keep working and working. And it's just going to mean more money for their business, happier clients, everything.
I agree with you 100%. Awareness builds momentum.
There you go.
So thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I look forward to hearing your scores and seeing them constantly improve over the coming quarters.
And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to go deeper and to do your score, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and click on the link in episode 11 show notes with a link to the scorecard and where you can download a copy of the Profit Activator Scorecard book and the Breakthrough DNA book, where we explain all the ways that you can apply the 8 profit activators. So I look forward to seeing and hearing from you with your scorecard, and I'll be back next week with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.